So it's not necessarily a place of, because it's very easy to be upset with yourself if you're unsure of what that next step is for you, if you're unsure how to flesh out that idea. But rather than be upset with ourselves, it sounds like what you're saying is take a look logically at the phase that you're in, right? So that
Yes.
first phase is the preparation phase, right? And are we going through these phases in each part of our life, or is our life essentially this process of phases in itself?
Well, creativity, I believe, is just another way to describe what humans do when we thrive. So, what it looks like to not be creating is to not thriving. That's to be
Oh,
depressed, to stay in your bed, or
yeah.
whatever. But it's a very human process. So, if we look at it that way, we can just say, obviously, I'm not thriving as a person, so I'm not going to be moving forward as a person. And so, one of the myths for us artists is this tortured artist thing where you have to be kind of just in a terrible state in order to create great work. And it's been proven that's not necessarily true. It's not that you want to seek comfort, but growth in any kind of growth we have requires some kind of effort. What the problem, like you're kind of mentioning, is are we doing the right thing that's going to move us forward?
Mm.
And so one of the things I did is kind of deconstruct the research that I read and looked after. And there's basically three parts of creativity: there's discovery, there's development, and there's delivery. And so the discovery phase is that preparation. It's the idea that comes to you. It's that part of it. The second part is the development. You got to test it. Will this really work? And the third part of it is how do we get it out and construct it. So the metaphors I use is the dream, the story, and the sandbox. And so the dream is kind of the wizard saying, "Aha, there it is." And then the development's kind of like, I'm actually in the sandbox. Tech people use that all the time. How do we test software in a sandbox? It's kind of, where's my limitations, my budget, et cetera. Will this thing really withstand engineering if you're in a technical part? And then constructing it, getting it out to the world. And so as a musician, I get the idea for the song, and then I test the idea out and with a producer or my musical collaborators. And then there's a point where I'm actually in the studio and we're recording it and we decide this is kind of how it is. And then they take it from there. They master it, and which is an interesting process, the science of it. So my music goes from this dream and the wizard all the way to the robot. But sometimes it starts with the robot where I have 3 minutes of a song, for instance. And so I use those three things to basically troubleshoot the question that you have. It's like,
Mm.
why am I stuck? Well, maybe my idea needs more development. Or maybe in the constructing, I'm learning something. This isn't me. It's not my story. It's why the story is important. And so even if I can do it and have the budget to do it, and the idea is good, maybe I shouldn't be doing it. And so I use that as a way to help us. But there's things that you mentioned there about, the small and big of it. There's micro processes and there's macro processes. So in creativity, just like in life, we have strategies in how we move forward that have to do with just today, the things I can do today. But then there's also things I realize, okay, I'm in a big long-term commitment for something, whether it's
Mm.
relationships or it's a career. So we have to kind of look at it both.